Welcome to another Tuesday night edition of Beyond the Ropes.
Ooh,
Woo! I'm Randy.
ooh.
To this direction is Fernando. What's going on, man?
AKA Retro Relapse. What it do? Here on the ones and twos. Not really, because I don't touch shit.
He don't touch shit. He just shows up.
That's right. What it do? Yes, I do show up, and you're lucky I'm here to come to the party, because if not, I'm gonna bring it. And we are here on another wonderful episode of Beyond the Ropes, BTR, baby. Let's fucking go.
Fucking going. And hit that Van Daminator on that like and subscribe button. Follow us on any platform you get your podcast needs. Spotify, YouTube, Twitch, Apple, on the socials at Instagram, Facebook at Beyond the Ropes Pod. But today, just like every other Tuesday, we have a nice little discussion. We're not going to recap anything. It's just we like to do something different on Tuesdays, and today is no different. Today, we're going to talk about defining moments in wrestling for I would say specifically maybe wrestling or wrestlers, however you want to go about it. And what we'll do is we'll just discuss maybe a significant moment in a wrestler's career and where it changed the tide, maybe in wrestling in general, what changed the tide for maybe a company, and go from there. So
I like that. That's different.
it's
That's
a little different, right?
yeah. Something we haven't touched on. Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'll throw out the easy one. This I'll give you the obvious one. King of the Ring, 1996. Stone Cold versus Jake the Snake. Stone Cold just whipped Jake the Snake's ass, walks to the throne, and is getting interviewed by Doc Hendricks, and he's asking him, so how does it
Is
feel?
Doc Hendricks or is that Michael Hayes?
Doc Hendricks is Michael Hayes.
Okay. So that was a moniker. I had to make sure. I was like,
Yes,
wait a minute.
yes. So
Michael Hayes, but yeah, I got
yeah,
it.
Doc Hendricks and Michael Hayes, aka FKA, whatever you want to call him, right?
His alter ego.
Alter ego. But he interviews him and tells him how does it feel to win King of the Ring, and Stone Cold throws one of the best live promos that literally changed the trajectory of his career when he laid out well, look at this piece of trash walking out, this Bible thumping SOB, talking about his John 3:16. Well, let me tell you something, son. Austin 3:16 just said, I just whooped your ass.
Oh,
Hell yeah. And then what do you know? The next night on Monday Night Raw, there are Austin 3:16 signs littered throughout the crowd. Littered. And from that point on, I feel, and maybe you can agree, is the Attitude Era or Stone Cold Era really took off.
It would be the Stone Cold era. Attitude era was about to kick off right after that, but they needed that umph, and that umph started with Stone Cold, and Stone Cold really did bring a fire promo, almost pipe bomb-ish, if you would say. This is a pre-pipe bomb, so this is more like a what would you call that?
A shoot?
The pressure cooker bomb.
There you go, pressure cooker.
Pressure cookers, yeah. Shout out Boston Marathon.
God. But you know what? You're not, and you know what? You're not wrong. And I'll use that reference that things were boiling over. Stone Cold Stunning Steve Austin was in WCW. He made his way after he got fired via fax to ECW. Paul Heyman allowed him to cut raw, uncut promos, and he did a shoot promo on Eric Bischoff firing him through fax. He did a shoot promo on Hulk Hogan and how he runs. For some reason, he was running a business for WCW. And that got him eyes from Vince McMahon because at the time, Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon were doing some business where ECW guys were jumping back and forth, invading Raw, RVD, Tommy Dreamer, Sandman. But that got him they got some eyes on him. He was a ringmaster when he came in, and still he wasn't hitting on all cylinders. He was given an opportunity. He was given an opportunity to change his gimmick name from the ringmaster to Steve Austin, and the Stone Cold started popping up. He started shooting it in promos like randomly, but it just wasn't hitting. But after that promo, it just really took off. And then that feud between him and Vince McMahon, him and DX, him and Triple H, him and The Rock, him and Undertaker, like it just spawned, him and Mankind, like it spawned from there. And I think that again. I'll say this is an easy layup. It was the easy one to kind of pinpoint, like Stone Cold changing his trajectory from Stunning Steve Austin to the Ringmaster to now Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes, sir. So, does anything come to mind? Maybe similar, maybe different.
You know what? I can tell 99% of you guys are going to expect me to talk about this man right here. And I will. And maybe I'll close out the show with this man. But prior to, let's talk about this man right here, the 17-time world champion. Because there was one time where he was not the champion. And it was in the Hammerstein Ballroom where they brought back ECW, owned through WWE. And it was when Rob Van Dam was the champion. And he was fighting Mr. Cena himself. And everybody in that arena was against Cena. Why? Because Rob Van Dam was a man at the time. He was the world heavyweight champion. He was the WWE champion. So that one, everybody had signs on it. If Cena wins, we riot. They were very upset with Cena. They did not want to see Cena win. It's in Philadelphia. I can't remember which Raw episode it was. I think it was
No, it was One Night Stand, the pay-per-view.
One Night Stand. That's right. I don't know why I think of ECW because I always think about the times that Monday Night Raw has been over there because there was some of the first ones were there at the Hammerstein Ballroom. But yes, the one with Cena and Rob Van Dam, and that was an epic battle. Not gonna lie, because even Cena coming out doing his Chain Gang stuff, he got his shirt and he threw it into the crowd, and even the crowd grabbed the shirt and threw it back. And usually, most of the time, whenever he threw his merch out into the crowd, everyone grabs over each other. Oh, I want that shirt. No, everyone got it and they threw it back. And he couldn't.
One guy wiped his ass with it. One guy wiped his ass and threw it back into the fucking ring.
He could not give it away, and that was a hell of a match. Not gonna lie, Cena gave Rob Van Dam a hell of a match, but Rob Van Dam came out victorious in that one. Am I not right?
Yes, sir.
That's right. Because that was one for the books. Not gonna lie, it was a defining moment to still tell everyone that no matter what, the ECW originals, the ECW hardcore fan base really backed up their guys, and knowing that RVD, Mr. Saturday Night, Mr. Rob Van Dam was still going to be on top no matter what. He had Alfonso there too. You cannot have RVD without his manager Alfonso there.
Fucking blowing that stupid ass whistle. Yeah,
stupid ass whistle. But it got everyone's attention. They kept attention on the match and everything that was going on. And man, that was a barn burner, man. That really was. And it really put Cena to the test. But Cena did put RVD to the test that day also. And you cannot not love it when you see that 5-star frog splash. Big RVD fan.
Big RVD, absolutely. But from one barn burner to a different type of barn burner, this is Undertaker versus Mankind, Hell in the Cell.
Ooh.
Now, mind you, Mankind at this moment had already been Mankind. He had been Dude Love, and he had also been Cactus Jack. But this is the moment where Mankind started wearing that button-down shirt because it was just a little bit after corporate Mankind. Just a little bit after that, he had a feud with The Undertaker, and they had been having run-ins and encounters ever since Mick Foley had come into the business as Mankind. Had boiler room matches, they had buried alive matches, they had casket matches, and it all boiled down to this, you know what? It's time to put up or shut up. We need to have a definitive winner, and this has to be it. Undertaker meets Mankind in Hell in the Cell. They go at it. They're whooping each other's ass. And what do you know? Well, Mankind, he just got to take it up to the next level, climbs the cage. Undertaker follows right behind him. Mm-hmm. They're throwing it down. They're doing suplexes. And you see the top of the cage shifting. And you're like, what's going to happen?
It wasn't made for the weight of those people up there.
Not those big guys. No. And it's shifting and shifting. Well, they're getting closer to the edge. And what do you know? Well, Undertaker wants to end this, and he just chunks Mankind off the top of the fucking Hell in the Cell, and Mankind lands, hits directly on the announcer's table, smashes it. The EMTs come out, the medics come out. They wheel his ass out. He's like, no, no, no. No one knew what happened yet. He had dislocated his shoulder. He was, okay. People want to
He
say,
was
oh,
banged up.
people say, oh yeah, they trained to fall, and you can't train to fucking fall that high, man. No matter, no
Not
matter.
that high.
No, no, no. He just by the grace of God, he hit that table rather than hitting straight on the chairs or on the floor. But he fucking pushed the medics off of him. He got back up, climbed right back up to that cage. Him and Undertaker started going at it. Undertaker chokeslammed him, went through the goddamn cage, into the ring. His fucking tooth was in his nose. You thought that was over? They're back at it. Tombstone on thumbtacks. 1, 2, 3. That match made Mick Foley. He was already a hardcore legend in Japan doing those death matches with Terry Funk. He'd already been a hardcore legend in fucking ECW as Cactus Jack. He already done all these crazy things, Buried Alive, Boiler Room matches. But this one right here, defining moment. I challenge you to go look at any highlight reel of wrestling in general, and they're going to show Mankind getting thrown off that goddamn cage.
Oh, of course, of course. That hits hard every time you see it, and it hurts every time you see it.
Exactly. I think that was a nice turning point for him, even though he already had a nice legendary career. It just took him into a next level, and he was able to start making people. Right? He was already doing the work. We call it doing the business, which means getting someone over by taking a lot of crazy bumps and whatever. He was doing the business for everyone else, but that really defined him as a superstar maker, right? And himself, he was a superstar. So I think great defining moment for a great wrestler, Hall of Famer, if you will.
So I got one I want to ask you on. So we know about points of this guy on the wall, because I'm just looking at the wall behind me, because I love my wall. I still want to add more to it. I got defining moments all over the place. But this man right here with this real American beard, the real American hero.
This
Mr.
guy
Hulk
right
Hogan.
here, the Hulkster,
Right,
the Hulkster.
Right. Mr. Hulk Hogan himself, right there. So my question for you, so we know there's been a bunch of defining moments, and we talked about one on the last Tuesday show that we did, the last recorded show that we did with who was more influential, NWO or DX? And honestly, the answer was NWO, because if it wasn't for NWO, we wouldn't have DX. We wouldn't have the change of the tide. We wouldn't have that. We knew that the shift was going with what was going on with pop culture, where the Attitude Era was forming. It blew up. It made all this thing. DX took what NWO did and took it even higher. We all know that. But can you name, because I'm not very familiar. I was a WWE brat more than a WCW brat. So my question to you is, what was a NWO defining moment with Mr. Hogan attached to it? That he was in charge. Other than
the initial leg drop.
Other than the inception with the Outsiders that we discussed in length, what other things did they produce that you can remember that would really stood out, that defined Hulk Hogan as the man to be in the NWO, that revolved around what was going on?
So honestly, because I did watch WCW, obviously I think the big defining moment for that group in general, because he was in it, is when, and this is a two-parter, I guess, is when he finally changed his name to Hollywood Hulk Hogan, right? Mm-hmm. And when he won the belt and spray painted it NWO, and he said, "This is our company. This is NWO's company." I think that's where people were like, maybe Hogan's going to turn back, he's doing some rascal shit that he's never really done before, and it's getting a weird reception, right? People are loving it. A lot of people are hating it because they miss good old boy, eat your vitamins, red and yellow, running wild all over you, Hulk Hogan. But I think, as crazy as, and maybe as silly as it sounds, when he won the belt and he sprayed NWO, the next night his beard changed. And he had the black beard and the blonde mustache. The blonde mustache.
Yeah, I think the black mustache over the blonde beard. Yep.
Yeah, so I think right there, him changing his look and really leaning into wearing black and white all the time, calling himself Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and then from there, him and Eric Bischoff just recruiting everybody, dude. Like, it really was. I think that was the defining moment. It's like, you're not gonna get good old Hulk Hogan. You're gonna get the new and improved, mean, lean, I don't give a fuck about anyone but myself and my team, my guys, NWO, and he started recruiting people. I think that was the other defining moment for the Hulkster in WCW was when he started, like, he won the belt and started pulling everyone in, changing his whole look. It really turned the tide for that 83 weeks of WCW whooping WWE's ass in the
Yep.
ratings, because it was, what are they going to do next? And it wasn't what the WCW guys are going to do, what the cruiserweights are going to do. It's what's NWO going to do? What's
I mean,
NWO going to do?
don't get me wrong. The cruiserweights helped the show. It
Absolutely.
gave something
Yeah.
else to look at because you needed some kind of either bathroom break in between or something else that wasn't NWO related. Because sometimes, too much of that, it does get stale. And I give it that some of the things that I did get to look back on and watch on some of the old WCW stuff, the cruiserweights were awesome to watch. And
Absolutely.
AEW follows that rhetoric or follows that rhyme and reason of what they do to a T, where they showcase more of their luchadors or their high flyers and some of the just the TV shows in general that they're doing. So knowing that they follow that line of what they did in WCW, I mean, it keeps people interested because it's wrestling. It's wrestling straight down the middle.
Exactly. So, I mean, again, that was, I think, a big defining moment for the Hulkster in WCW, and
Good,
the
good,
shift
good,
of
good.
tide,
Because I
Now,
mean, everyone will talk about the inception, but what else created and kept people captivated with the group? And that's a good one. I like that.
well, you know what? I'll ask you this question, and I'm gonna take exactly from what you said just a second ago. I know organizations, wrestling organizations, have been around forever, right?
Hmm.
WCW, WWF, the territories, Smoky Mountain, Ohio Valley Wrestling, fucking PWG, all these wrestling promotions. But you brought
Hmm.
up AEW. Tell me how you felt that AEW changed or created a revolution and changed the wrestling landscape by just becoming and doing what they did, and how they recruited some top stars and bringing new faces to the states and new faces from the indies that people didn't even know about.
Well, you're basically saying everything already by asking me that, because there's a lot of things that happened when the inception was done. Because a lot of these guys came from the indies in California. A lot of these guys were running those circuits that were over there, and a majority were in the Bullet Club in New Japan Wrestling. And they're like, you know what? Well, we need an American version of this. We need to stay home because we can't always be in Japan. So that's why the inception of AEW was created, along with the masterminds that put it together. And one of the ones that's running WWE that was a part of it was Cody Rhodes, along with the masterminds of the Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, and Kenny Omega. They said, you know what? We have this idea. Let's start another one. They found an investor who's a big mark for wrestling, Mr. Tony Khan, whose dad is a wealthy overseas man. I don't know. I don't want to go. It's just an Indian man with a bunch of oil money. Let's just put it that way, right? He's the owner of the Jaguars, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and well, he gave his son a bunch of money, and they went ahead and put a thing together, and they started with the pay-per-view, Double or Nothing. Am I right? Or yeah, because
Yeah,
yeah, it
double or
wasn't
nothing.
all in yet.
Yeah,
It was Double or Nothing because they're basically just betting all their money down to see if this was going to work, and they ended up getting 10,000 people packed in Chicago for a big event, and they know Chicago's a hot town for wrestling. So just the
absolutely.
fact that they were able to put that together, sell out that arena on something that was completely brand new that people didn't know about, and then sign a bunch of indie wrestlers to something big that was gonna, or hopefully that was gonna inceptly become huge. It did, but the only downfall to what they were trying to do was, of course, the COVID era. They had a good running start in 2019, and I think it would have gone way, it would have burned way hotter, but we all got screwed with the COVID bug. We all got screwed with the shutdown that happened worldwide. We got all screwed with that, but they still made it work. That people were still invested enough to watch it because it was the anti WWE programming that gave us something else to watch. It was the anti. We got that when we were watching TNA Impact. We got that, but Impact wasn't as impactful, as corny as that sounds, and it was lackluster where we were seeing newer wrestlers, but they were budding wrestlers. We didn't see familiar faces, and a lot of the people that were in AEW were starting to become familiar faces because we had them on a national TV circuit where we could see them every week, and it really did do a great thing for having another side of wrestling to watch, especially knowing that you had other people showing up, just like in WCW, slowly but surely. Like when you saw Matt Hardy right before COVID happened, he was there doing his broken Matt Hardy gimmick that he was doing in TNA, brought that over there. And little by little, you're hoping Jeff was going to come in and all these other wrestlers were going to just start showing up or just giving us new stories to just latch on and hang on to. And if there's any defining moments, I mean, you have a whole bunch of things that were being created. John Moxley being no, Chris Jericho being the first champion, John Moxley being a champion afterwards, um, holding on to the belt, bringing prestige to what they had going on. Because of course, when you saw Dean Ambrose go in over there and go as his original name that he used in the Indies, John Moxley is like, son of a bitch, I was not expecting this. And I didn't even know his name was John Moxley, of course, because WWE implanted he was Dean Ambrose part of the Shield when he was actually John Moxley part of what the fuck he was doing when he was out there. But if you want to name another defining moment for the fact of this show that we're doing right now, is the fact that the Young Bucks were able to bring this man right here out of an 8-year retirement. He said no more to wrestling because his body was hurt. He gave it a go in the UFC and it wasn't very successful, but he did give it he did give it his all. He wasn't as successful as Brock Lesnar, but he did give it his all. But he knew pro wrestling was his home, and he decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take a chance at it one more time. And if it wasn't for the Young Bucks, and it wasn't for AEW, and it wasn't for Tony Khan, signing that big check and being a big old mark the way he was, we would never have had this. I mean, honestly, I've got the toys on the wall to prove it. There it is. AEW figure, AEW figure, AEW figure. He was meant to come back to wrestling, and he did. And then later, of course, he came back to WWE. Another defining moment. We all know that. But if it wasn't for AEW, we wouldn't have seen this guy in the ring again.
Probably never came back. Probably never been just did movies and TV shows and stuff. And
yeah, he was fine still doing that because he did do while in AEW, he did put out a horror movie that he was a part of. He did do something that he was a part of with Cody Rhodes' buddy Stephen Amell with that show that was on
Heels
was on Stars, which was called Heels, is now on Netflix. They did 2 seasons of it. Hopefully, they're going to bring a third one back once Stephen Amell's done with Suits LA. Stephen Amell's a big wrestling fan. He was the Green Arrow on the CW TV show The Green Arrow, which was a good watch up until towards the very end. I mean, it got stale. I mean, it always gets woke and stale towards the end. But yeah, no, if it wasn't for a lot of the little things, we would have never seen this man back in the wrestling ring. And we have to thank AEW for that one. If you're a fan, and if you're not a fan, well, guess what? Thank them anyway. Because you get good programming out of it. Fuck you.
That's right. And I think people, just like any young company, AEW gets a lot of slack for not doing certain things and doing this. But what they're doing is they're doing things right. They're doing things their way. And people don't have to, not everyone has to like it. But if you're a wrestling fan, then you can appreciate all the young stars they created, all the vets they brought in, who they gave a fresh coat of paint or just revitalized their career. Like you said, CM Punk, John Moxley, Chris Jericho, Samoa Joe, Claudio Castagnoli, Bryan Danielson. Like, he got to end he didn't end his career in WWE. He ended his career in AEW, going out on the biggest stage as a champion.
Hey, what's the biggest name that we haven't even mentioned that's in their newly Hall of Fame they're gonna make? Sting.
They brought back Sting, and they gave Sting a great run.
WWE could not bring back Sting. WWE brought back Sting for a hot second, and Seth Rollins buckle bombs and breaks his neck. Come on.
So
can't have nothing nice over there. I mean, if you don't know the lore, Sting never wanted to go to WWE. Sting never wanted to be a part of it. He liked being away from the machine because he was a part of the machine. He loved being in WCW. He retired. He left WCW because, of course, everything imploded. When WCW was bought out by WWE, he did not go. He didn't want nothing to do with it. Where did he go? He went to TNA. He went over there with Jeff Jarrett and his programming over there.
Reinvented himself over there.
Yes, he definitely reinvented himself over there many times over doing the main event Mafia. He even had his old moniker where he was a Joker Sting.
He was the Grim Reaper Sting too for a little bit.
Yeah, so the fact that he was able to do more things with himself, and it wasn't just the Crow Sting the whole time, that he was able to, morph himself into different things and different characters he wanted to portray, and they gave him the creative freedom. You cannot beat that. And just to go back to WWE to do a one time over to get into the Hall of Fame, but ends up breaking himself up because Seth Rollins screwed up on a buckle bomb and broke the old man. It's sad, but at least he was able to recover. He did his DDP yoga. Thank you, DDP. And there he is in AEW doing all kinds of crazy shit where he retired with the tag team championship belt with Darby Allin.
So I mean,
Crazy,
I
man.
said AEW. I think AEW, again, being young, they have a lot of defining moments, and they're going to have a lot more for a lot of these stars that they have. Like, it's just
Hey,
only a matter of time.
and while we talk about it, shout out to Darby Allin. I read a little story today that he's in the middle of his climb to Mount Everest. I want to say he's already 4,000 feet up. He's not too far off from getting up there to the peak of Mount Everest, or where he needs to be, so he can plant the AEW flag up there. Because Tony Khan's gonna love that. That's one of the things he's destined to do. But he does have a skateboard with him, and he did do a kickflip 4,200 feet up in the air
Oh,
at
shit,
first
that's
day
cool.
before he's already up the mountain 4,200 feet high, and he's done the highest kickflip. I think it's now in the Guinness World Book of Records, where he's done the highest kickflip ever done, especially on a mountain. So kudos to Darby Allin for being that guy.
The fucking Daredevil, for sure. The
The
Daredevil.
Daredevil for sure, and hopefully we'll see that he does a coffin drop where he's at the peak of the top of the mountain. That'd be cool as shit too. Be the first wrestler, first of all, to climb to hit the peak of the mountain that they're able to climb up to, that everyone goes to. But second of all, being the first wrestler to climb the mountain and do his finisher on somebody on the top of the mountain would be cool as fuck.
That'd be wild. If he did it, then fucking legendary status right there.
Legendary status to say that you did your finisher on the top of the highest mountain in the world. It's like, why not?
Why not? Fuck
Or
it, why not?
climbable mountain in the world.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why
I
not?
would do it. Add that accolade to everything you do. I mean, and kudos to whoever's going to take that damn avalanche fucking coffin drop.
Avalanche. That's what you should call it. Avalanche coffin drop. But
Yeah, right.
we're
Because you're
talking.
coming from the top, baby.
And we talk about AEW, but I want to talk about another defining moment in wrestling in general is a little company that started the Rebels off in ECW.
ECW.
I think they changed, although NWO did help change the landscape of the Attitude Era. You wouldn't have the crazy shit, the risque shit, the fucking bloody shit if you didn't talk about ECW and the stuff that they were able to do, and it changed the wrestling landscape with, again, a bunch of guys who weren't known other than the East Coast on East Coast television for
Yep.
ECW,
Philadelphia.
and the stuff that they were able to do got eyes on them, so much so that Vince McMahon wanted to partner with Paul Heyman because they were doing things outside the box, and everyone started pulling a little bit of everything from ECW. ECW was the first one to fucking showcase luchadors, and then all of a sudden now you have WCW doing Luchador Hour in the first hour of WCW Nitro. They start doing tables and extreme stuff and blood. Well, you know, WWE is starting to do more blood. Stone Cold's bleeding against Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13. They're doing tables, they're doing chairs. They start pulling their big stars, and now you start seeing TLC matches, something that wasn't seen on television. It might have been on house shows and stuff like that, but on television, on pay-per-view, you're going to see a TLC match with 3 tag teams doing death-defying things like ECW. They did things their way. They did things the way they wanted to. And I think you talk about wrestling having a pivot and having a defining moment. You got to give all the credit to Paul Heyman for having that wrestling mind to change the landscape of wrestling. And I can go on and on about ECW, but you know, you get to see it now in AEW, you get to see it now in WWF, you get to see it now in New Japan, you get to see it now on TNA, you get to see it. All this stuff I feel like wouldn't have been possible, or it would have taken a long time to get there. Just like we said about in last Tuesday's show, about things wouldn't have happened right away. They might have gotten there at some point, but not right away. And ECW changed the idea of what could be done, how crazy things can get, and how extreme you can really do in the ring. So, but I feel like we can go on and on and on about defining moments, and this is just the tip of the iceberg, and we can discuss maybe in another time, another episode about more defining moments, maybe more specific moments with particular wrestlers. But
Hmm.
I think this is a good, nice little stopping point, and maybe we can touch back in a couple of months, and maybe we'll have some new defining moments, right?
Oh man, we I mean, even not even new. We can still keep going on with the old. You got Kurt Angle who was fighting with his broken freaking neck,
Exactly.
winning and doing what he does the way he does. I mean, there's been plenty of wrestlers who have broken bones, who have gone off on the deep end, still fighting. They've been knocked out, literally out cold, standing up, and they still are able to find a way to subconsciously win their match. I mean,
Stone Cold breaking his neck, and although a poor roll up, still finished the match and walked out on his own volition.
on his own 2 feet, yes, no, dazed as hell, but he still did it. I mean,
Brock Lesnar doing the shooting star press on Kurt Angle, missing and still winning and finishing the match, and then walking out and then passing out in the back. Like,
I mean, look at some of the matches. I mean, people getting choked out by Taz and ECW, man. Like to be able to get to those links that you fight a match with Sandman and he's bleeding the bloody hell out of you. Not
shit,
to sound English.
Taz breaking Sabu's neck on the table with the fucking T-bone suplex onto the table, and Sabu still finishing the match doing fucking flips onto the floor. Like,
Yes. Like those guys were going off of just pure adrenaline to make sure that what, not only were they trying to finish what they were doing, but they were entertaining you at the same time. They wanted to go out on top. They didn't want to go out as a bitch. They didn't want to go out on a stretcher. They didn't want to go out bandaged up. They're gonna finish their damn fight no matter what was hanging out of their body. And
exactly.
those are defining moments that we love to see, because you know what? If it doesn't make a difference, you're not talking about it. You're really not talking about it. I mean, God forbid, you know what? There's been a bunch of lately, and we'll talk about some of this on the next show on Thursday on the live shows or any of the live shows coming up. There's been a lot of like uh where they're making budget cuts, right? Or they claim they're budget cuts and they're letting go of some wrestlers. There's been a bunch of let goes from NXT. There's been a let goes from the main roster. But what people don't understand and realize, not everyone can live to the caliber of what is supposed to be expected to be on TV, because you're not only just a professional wrestler, you're also an entertainer. And if you're not wooing crowds and you're not making people feel through what you're doing with your craft, then you're not making it as the wrestler
You're not
that they
making money.
paid
Yeah,
for.
you're not making
They
money.
they they put you on a contract where you're making X amount of dollars of what you do. You're a subcontractor, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. As a subcontractor, you're supposed to give a certain amount of work that is expected of you. And if you're not able to woo the crowd, you're not able to do what you're supposed to do, I'm sorry, we're going to have to cut you and find somebody else who can do the job that it's being paid for. And some of these people, oh man, they let go to Dakota Kai. Oh man, they let go to so and so Carter, Chase Carter, Candice Carter. Not every person that was at NXT that got to the main roster is worth being on the main roster. A lot of the times, they're just enhancement talent that are helping the bigger ones get over or get through because of the fact that they need them there. If it's hard to understand and realize, keep watching the lower products that are pushing the higher products, if that makes any sense. Look at the people that they're using as enhancement talent or people to help put them over for the bigger people, because they need to win, and they need to show that they're making progress with where they're going with their story, because some of it some of these people that they have there weren't meant to be world champions. It is what it is. You can tell by where they've been and what they do. Some of these people are just mid champions, mid Carter champions, what we call the mid card. You'll never make it to the top like Cody Rhodes, but you can be an intercontinental champion like where Dominic Mysterio is sitting right now, and other intercontinental champions. Bret Hart was one of the best. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, Razor Ramon, three of the best intercontinental champions. But of course, they rose to the occasion and they became world champions. But the thing is that you got to start somewhere, be somewhere, make something of that championship, and then you'll be able to move to the top. But if you can't even get to that point, then what are you doing?
Exactly, and it goes full circle because there has to be people to get other people over. It just not everyone can win a match. Not everyone can win every match. Not everyone can get all their fucking moves in. Some people have 3 minute matches. Some people have 15-minute matches. Some people have Iron Man matches. It's all how you entertain the crowd, right?
Your audience. Yeah.
Yeah, and as wrestling fans, we're the ones who really dictate who gets over, who doesn't. So when you bitch and complain about someone getting let go, it's like, did you cheer for them? Did you care that they won? You were bitching
Did you
about.
buy their merch? Did you support them correctly? Did you really give them the push and have other people push with you to make sure that they were going to stay?
Exactly. But I think that's another topic for another day, probably.
Yeah. No, of course. I didn't mean to go on a tangent, but I had to throw it out there just because of the fact that, you know what, if you don't, if you're not playing your cards right, you're not going to make a defining moment. And I just had to throw that out there to really intertwine what's going on. Is that big stars and even some small stars make defining moments, and that's what keeps them up there. If you want to throw another one out there for the sake of this conversation, Kofi Kingston and his Royal Rumbles. For the longest time, just about every Royal Rumble that Kofi Kingston was a part of, for the most part, I don't know, it's like 5 or 6 of them. He always had some kind of defining moment that we were expecting Kofi to do something crazy, wild, or weird to make sure that he didn't get eliminated. He eventually got eliminated because he never really won any of them. But he got thrown out. He caught himself and did a handstand. He got thrown out. He jumped over and hit the rail and never touched the ground completely. He got thrown out, and one of the guys from the New Day caught him, and his foot was on one foot on the floor. Both feet had to touch the floor, but one was on the floor and the other was on a pile of pancakes. Things like that, Those are just individual defining moments because they were able to find a spot and make something of it. He was able to make something of it with his acrobaticness, if that's a fucking word, right? But he was able to do that to where he could make sure that he wasn't out. It kept the crowd entertained, and he was able to come back in. And then, of course, he got thrown out. That's just always the way it works.
Yeah.
But who else was doing that, or who else made a staple of doing that? Those are the defining moments of Kofi Kingston. If you actually say his name, and well, what kind of accolades does he have other than just being a tag team champion? Well, he did the shit in the Royal Rumble. Hey, great. So tell me what other person that's gotten kicked out of NXT lately, or whatever got cut away from the big cards lately because they're making room for more people or money moves for whatever, have done anything that staples anything that could stand to a list that we're trying to make right now. Not many.
And that's why there's champions. That's why there's mid cards, and that's why there's, I hate to use the word, but enhancement talent. Exactly. So hey, again, I think another great topic for another Tuesday night, maybe next week. But defining moments, again, hit us in the comments. Let us know who you thought we missed, and there's a lot. Hey, Shawn Michaels kicking Mario Jannetty through the barbershop window. That's a defining moment for Shawn Michaels. Like, there's a lot.
There's so many that we want to see what's out there so we can at least elaborate on them. Don't just think, we just want to compare notes. I mean, it's not just about comparing notes or who's done what better. Let's elaborate on it together because we want to talk about this stuff because it's nice to hear and nice to see that, you know what, we're not all the only ones that are like, we only think about the big stars because the people that we care about. I mean, there's a bunch of like mid-card people and others that do some defining things that we forget. I mean, think about Yokozuna, Lex Luger. We've brought that up on the show before, but that's not big to us, but it could be big to somebody else because it made an impact in their life, and that's why it's like, you know what, bring it up and let's talk about it.
Exactly. Like I said, hit us up in those comments on YouTube, Spotify. Tell us who maybe stood out to you in defining moments. We all don't have the same favorite wrestlers. There's so much wrestling, especially nowadays, that there's a lot of moments that we miss all the time. Every day you're not watching wrestling, you're missing something. Missing something
for real.
Yeah, all those big pay-per-views.
That's why we suggest keep watching the product, man.
That's right.
Keep watching the product because not only are you just showing support and love for the people you like, you're showing support and love for the shows. And by having them see your numbers that you're watching, guess what? It's going to keep them going. So if we don't watch, they don't go. Keep watching.
But we appreciate you tuning in another Tuesday night for another recorded BTR special edition episode. Catch us live Thursday on Twitch.
Get on that Twitch.
Hit us in the comments. Jump on the chat on Thursdays live with us.
And I read the chat out loud, so definitely get on that chat, and I will shout you out and definitely put out whatever it is you're saying, just like one of my buddies did last week. Jerk.
But exactly. Well, for Fernando, I'm Randy. We thank you for tuning in on a Tuesday night. Catch us live Thursday. For BTR, more stories, more violence.